right now. And the recording will be posted on the California Acceleration Project website under events. And we're at accelerationproject.org under events. And I'll probably have that up by Monday. All right. So, we have a chat open. If you want to put questions into the chat, the presenters are going to leave time at the end of the presentation for Q&A. So we will be gathering questions during the presentations as you post things into the chat and make sure that you get your questions answered. All right, without further ado, Andre.
Hi, everybody. I'm Andre Bezos. I go by Professor Dre to my students. So I am at Sacramento City College, though I was at Sierra College a little while back where I worked with Mary Beth and Pitt here. So Mary Beth, you want to introduce yourself?
It's nice to see so many familiar faces and some new ones. I'm Mary Beth Pattengale. I've been teaching mathematics at Sierra College for years, and these Teach Me videos, I've been doing them since COVID. So this is exciting to get to share what I've been doing in the class and then compare with what some other folks are doing, because we all have our unique little stamp on it, which is cool.
And I'm Pitt Turner. I'm from Sierra College as well. And yeah, eager to share this idea that I stole from Dr. Dre, Professor Dre, and share how this interaction goes beyond the classroom.
Sweet. I'm excited too. And seeing it in different ways is kind of cool. Since we started it, I don't know why I'm not moving forward here. There we go. Okay, since we started it back in basically fall of 2020 with COVID, the whole reason why we started this was we were online, we were stuck in statistics, and I was working with a group of people with me. That we were concerned. We were working on stats in particular, building out a stats program. We had 5 of us working on this thing, and we built this out, and we kept seeing, basically rampant cheating online. And it was a problem. So my colleague, Carla Rojas, at the time, she's very technology savvy, and she was just playing around with Canvas and found this app called GoReact, and we started the Teach Me videos just in exams. That wasn't really good enough, because what we found is only 1/3 of the people did these Teach Me videos in exams, and it wasn't really hitting what I wanted to hit. And I still wasn't getting to know my students. I don't know about you, but in that online realm, when you had a synchronous course, I really didn't like that feeling of teaching to blank screens. And yeah, I could make my students turn them on, and I tried that, right? It still didn't feel that good, because I still felt like I was just lecturing to myself in many ways. So I was like, okay, well, in the fall of 2021, I was given a calculus course, and I love Calc 1. And I had worked with people. And let me get to the next screen, because that's where I kind of talk about collaboration. So I've been talking about collaboration as a huge motivating factor for me as faculty, as a teacher, to help me understand what I'm doing. For instance, at CRC, when I first started off as an adjunct there for 7 years of my life, it was wonderful. I would go to the full-time faculty, ask them a question, they would help me out, they would give me their materials, and a lot of times, and I would be able to ask those questions to them and get that support from them, right? Then shifting over to Sierra College, I had my buddy Tanya Times and Sandy Escobar, who really helped me explore equity and what it meant to be an equitable teacher and an anti-racist teacher. And it really kind of, a lot of what I did and transitioning my ability to teach changed there at Sierra College with their help. Along with Ken Johnson was a big person who helped me. He had a different course called Math 10 at Sierra College, where we actually had the students present a lot of their materials on the board and do those. And I really enjoyed what the students presented to us in that class. And Mike Watterson was my office mate, who we started building out the calculus course that I now have, that I still use the lecture notes and the worksheets that we built out. We had a lot of fun together building those out in my last semester there at Sierra College. Now, Pitt Turner and Mary Beth, I got to give them props, because they've also taken over the Teach Me video aspects in different ways, and I love what they're doing with it. getting to the last bit. So the last 5 years I've been at SCC, Sacramento City College, and Hainoko Katan, my office mate, Carla Rojas, who I've talked about, Michelle Palacino, Tricia Sanford, and my dean, Angie Lambert, were big parts of me really just surviving COVID. They were great friends to me, but also helped me kind of through this journey of Teach Me videos. So getting to the kind of the big piece of it, what does my course look like in general? It's a normal course, but it's all embedded in Canvas. So I decided to do this Teach Me video bit before fall of 2021 in calculus because I had all the things kind of built out. I had my lecture notes, I had my worksheets for every single section of the book. And so I started building this out, making my videos and providing for the students so I didn't have to, right, do that in the time that we had together, which it was a hybrid course. So I only had half the time I would be allotted. So I would go into that course, they would ask questions, and they would break into groups and work on these challenging worksheets. And that was the big part to me, where these worksheets were a lot of fun for me and Mike Watterson to create. And they were very challenging for the students. And I was kind of nervous at first about how challenging they were, and being online where I can't be in the face of the student and say, no, this is what you did wrong, and talk it. But that's the beauty of Teach Me videos, because they all have to do it now. And that is what a Teach Me video is. And every single week in my course, a student has to present me a Teach Me video. So what do I use and how do I use it? There is this app called Go React. It is an expensive app. I've learned recently. My school has kind of reinvested in that app recently, but it is very expensive. But as you'll find out from my colleagues Pitt and Mary Beth, you don't necessarily need this app to do it. I do think it makes it a little bit easier because of just my feedback videos that I give to my students. It's easier for me to make a video and then move on to the next student, I believe. So, I'm going to try out what Pitt's doing and what Mary Beth is doing next semester to see if I can get it going in another way. So Go React, if your school has it, is embedded in Canvas, and you just create an assignment and you get an external tool. Right, click on find, and this Go React, you find this Go React thing. Once you hit select, it'll come up with your assignment once you save it, and then you'll hit load the new TMV in the window, and then you into Go React. It automatically logs you in, and it's very intuitive on how to use it. Some parts are a little bit challenging for faculty in order to share their screens and work with those students in the video form. But if you want to talk to me, you can talk to me and we can kind of help you through that part. And it's just a one-time deal. Once you get set up, you're good. So, but you can create a rubric. The rubric is excellent in Go React. It's way better than Canvas's rubric. It's another reason why I like it. And then once you get it saved, it is all set up for your students, and they can start making videos for you. So there's ways to do group work in here. There's ways to have individual private videos, and that's mostly what I do, is individual private videos. And here's a kind of an example of all my student videos that I would have. You can see a really long one here. Sometimes you get that, right? But I mostly watch these at 2 times speed. And sometimes if I really know that problem about a 27-minute video, I might skip a little bit forward to see where they're going to make those mistakes and so forth. So, but these videos have changed the way I teach in general. So what are they? What do they do, right? So Teach Me videos are just that. Every single week, my students have to make me a Teach Me video. They have to make me a video presenting me one problem from the worksheet, and I choose which problem. Kind of randomly, I choose about 5 problems from the worksheet, and then break it up so that their groups can work on those 5 problems together in class, right? Or I have done this asynchronously online, and I'll talk about that group work later. But they present this material just to me, but they get to work in their groups to make sure they build their confidence on that problem, because these are challenging problems. These are not easy problems, as you'll see some of them as we go through. So once they present those, I go in there, I watch them, and I grade them, and I give them a video feedback directly to them, and they get to see those. And I think some of the power of my Teach Me videos for my students and why they like them so much is my feedback that I give them. I'm very positive about what they did, even if they got it wrong, even if I couldn't see things, at least they presented something to me and I can give them that something. Students figure it out really fastly, particularly in the STEM field, how to do these Teach Me videos, and I really do work hard in the beginning first couple of weeks to make sure they know how I want them to do it. For instance, I don't want to see pre-written down work. It's really boring. If you ever had somebody go over pre-written down work, like from a textbook or from their own handwritten stuff, A, I don't know if it's their stuff. B, right, I want them to talk about it as they go through it and kind of explain it. Yes, they can have their notes off to the side. I don't want them just presenting on the fly. That's another thing I talk about with them. If they are presenting on the fly, it's messy. You get those 27-minute videos and stuff like that. So, but hopefully they're not that long. So let's see what they look like. At first, I have all my students introduced.
Good afternoon, class. My name is Karina, and today I will be going over on how to find the derivative of a function that applies a couple of chain rules. So I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen so you.
Karina had a lot of fun with
Hi,
it.
my name is Nayeli, and I will be showing you how to solve number
Great
6 on this week's related rate
We're
scores.
amazing.
So the problem says.
Hello, Professor Dre. It's Juliana, and I'm here to do number 2.
All right, Professor Dre. This is
Just a warning.
exam number
There's
3,
going to be a
problem set number 1
for this
of 4, the
around
Teach Me
Halloween.
video. And my confidence interval, my personal one on how confident I am that I got this right is between 0 and 0. That sucks.
Here's the
Anyways, all right, I'm going to pause it for a second and then we'll keep going.
Ken was a fun guy. I had him in stats, and I had to put his video in there. We talked many times afterwards, and let me show you kind of what these students present to me too. So
Plus 4. And what we want to do is bring in
So if you
that
can't
4 over
see
hand we had over here.
Or
because
for
we're gonna be
me,
multiplying
for
the
my
same
side,
thing.
it's a copy of a copy of a copy, but he is doing my summation for an integral.
But I found it a lot easier to
And as you know,
calculate
that's a
in
challenging thing,
advance
but
and
here he
find
is
the final
explaining it
expression.
at a
So
very deep
with
level
the rules of summation
on why we need these
for the
things
rules
to be
of
the proper
summation,
fit.
yeah.
What we can do now is we're going to use implicit differentiation to take the
He
derivative
is
on both
one of my
sides.
stat
So right
students,
here,
stat
I'll just
professor,
put this in
stat
green.
once he is a
So
stat
you know that we're taking the derivative d over dt,
UC Berkeley studying there.
d over dt. And right here, we are multiplying two variables together. So that means we're going to have to apply the product rule. Excuse me, I almost said power rule. We will apply power rule as well with this r squared, but mainly we're going to apply the product rule between the r and the h. So when we take the derivative of both sides, we get dv over dt.
To answer the question, I need to
Sorry, this is really small.
relate A, B, and
was a great
theta
to
in some sort of equation so I can figure out what theta is. So over here, we can see that theta
because he
is,
wanted to explain graphing problems.
or the tangent of theta is going to be
Really love them so
our
much.
opposite, which is A, over the adjacent B, so 50 over 100. So we're going to be interested also in this equation here.
Hello, my name is Christine Canizales, and I am going to teach
Just
you how to
the
find the
awesome
derivative of
students.
So we want to find the derivative of this function y equals -4 to the power of inverse cotangent of 4x to the power of -5. And we are going to start by finding the derivative of the outermost function, which would be -4 to the power of x, and this whole thing is x. So the derivative of this is -ln of 4 times 4x. So we can rewrite this as negative natural log of 4 times 4 to the power of inverse cotangent
Just writing it on
of 4x to the power of -5. And then we want to multiply by the derivative of this.
So let's go to my feedback video now. And I'm trying to get out of here. How do I get out of here? What's happening? There we go. So my feedback videos, for every student, I give them a video encouraging them to make those videos for me. So here we go.
Kat, yes. You are the first student out of 6 so far that has done it correct.
This was a really
so for this particular problem. I've graded 6 of them so far, and everybody's been wrong so far. So excellent job. You watched your parentheses as you went along, multiplying the thing by the correct piece, right? So a lot of mistakes where essentially when you would get that 1 where the x used to be x. There we go. Good job, and good catch at the end. I just wanted to take a second and show you, because it didn't seem like you were too.
Even if they get it right, we can go.
Hey, Stephen, that was a good job. There was a lot of work in there. So I don't remember in class, I kind of said something about solving for theta. And if you had done that, you would add a tan inverse, right?
So you can encourage them to do it other ways.
Kenneth, man.
To do it. It's amazing.
Your confidence interval is way off on yourself. You got an A on this, and you were so worried that you butchered the thing. You literally explained everything right. The only thing you got incorrect was what the test.
So the funny thing about Ken's little jump scare is I didn't actually see it because I was just listening to him at the time and possibly doing other things there. On that last bit, I was in my garage, right? Sometimes I go in my garage late at night working and answering these things, or maybe clean up my garage and do some things in there. Yeah, I didn't even see it. And then the next day he comes into class, he's all, "Did you see my video? Did you see it?" No, did you see it, Professor Dre? And so finally I'm like, okay, I'm not sure what you're talking about, but what are you talking about? He's like, go see it, go watch the whole thing again. So, and then I did, and it was funny. There was one other time he did a teach me video in full costume, alien costume. It was so distracting, but fun at the same time. So these things are very fun with your students. You really do get to know your students really well. Sorry, I wasn't supposed to do that. Slideshow. Nope, that's not what I wanted either. Give me a second. Slideshow, just start. I'm just gonna go on. Okay. So what do these students think? Nervous at first, but they can really get into them. So I've had students get nervous in this particular semester, right? I am teaching Calc 2 this semester. It's my first time since I did it at Sierra College. And right, these are the results of my class. Everybody basically loves them right? Kind of. There is one student who really said they hated them, but that student was also saying stuff about how the technology was getting in the way, and that's why they hated them in their responses there. So I have to figure out who this student is now, even though this was a anonymous survey. So that way I can address their tech issues to hopefully get them involved in the Teach Me videos. This is the first semester I did it, right? You can see a lot of the students liked it too. Last semester I did have, I had 2 asynchronous calculus courses, and Michelle Policino had one, and we collaborated and made them the same course essentially. So we had 55 students answer the survey, and 52 of them liked the Teach Me videos and liked what they were about. So students in general really like these things because I think of the feedback we give them, and also you'll see some of the responses from students, also the motivation that happens there, right? The motivation to get into your group and do hard, challenging problems and work together to make sure you understand your problem before you go home and teach that to me is huge. And that's what it is in Calc 2. I am in person with these students. I have all my material online. They jump into class and I provide them the worksheet, and they go to work and they work on these really challenging problems. Sometimes I made them a little too challenging this week. In particular, I did that where we're doing revolutions of solids. And right, there's a few problems where I just draw a cross section of an O-ring and tell them to rotate it around this axis and find the volume. I don't give them the formulas; they have to find the formulas and take the integral to do it. And my students love those problems. But they work hard on it to do it. And I know the videos are going to be really long, but they're also just fun. So there's a few kind of things that my students kind of said about the course in general, and they're very powerful things. I don't want to read them all because they're very wordy, but nonetheless, if you can see some of the things in there, although at first I hated the TMVs, as it got later into the semester, I found out they could be really useful, right? Even though they didn't like it. So maybe that was that first student, that one student said they didn't like it. At the end, they understood what the purpose of it was and how it really kind of gave us a relationship that no matter what, I would not have, even if I was just in person with them, as I am now in my calculus 2. I can't get around to every student. And sometimes you have that quiet student who is just sitting there and doesn't want you to talk to them at all, right? Every student has to make me a video every single week. And so I get to know that student's abilities in mathematics and right, I can address the abilities that they are lacking too, right? We can do just-in-time remediation right there for them. But the hope is that they get that down before they jump into the video. So another thing that I did in my course last semester with Calc 1, the asynchronous Calc 1, is I actually used GoReact to make up groups, and I would make up my own video, and then the students would go in there and respond to each other. And I was kind of amazed by the way the groups works. I don't know if you've ever tried group work in an asynchronous class where it's just discussion board after discussion board after discussion board. It's really challenging to write mathematical information out for somebody to kind of tell them what you did and why you did it. But nonetheless, they can make a quick video and show their classmates what they did. And then I gave them a similar problem to what they taught their group mates, and that is what they were going to teach me that week. So the groups worked out wonderfully. The responses on the groups, most of the students loved them, right? 66% of the students loved them. 27% said they get why they need them, but right, they're not exactly in love with them, I guess. But that is what's going on in my course. I think I got a couple questions there about GoReact. GoReact is kind of an app. It's very expensive app. So and I'm an OER person. I'm a ZTC person. So when my school told me how much GoReact was, I was kind of flabbergasted on what they were paying. It was something like $140,000 for all 4 colleges in the Los Rios system. So it was mind-boggling to me that we would keep paying that, but I kind of advocated for it, and other people were using it too. I think we have ASL using it as well. But there are other ways to do it, and I'm going to let my colleagues address that. So, all right, I'm going to switch over to Mary Beth now.
Cool. Thanks, Andre. So mine is, I call mine problem of the week, and mine is a little bit different than Andre's because it's a small group discussion and only one person in each group presents each week. And then the other students in each group they do peer reviews. I also was worried that the students would be afraid of these. I started these in spring of 2021 in my differential equations linear algebra class. You can see Julia has kindly offered me a screenshot of her presentation over there. I'll show you some videos in a minute. But in differential equations and linear algebra, as with so many of our math classes, notation seems nitpicky to the student, and it is crucial to the faculty teaching it for understanding, making sure they're understanding what's really going on. And so I really wanted to change up the boring discussion board stuff. So I had them take a problem and present it. I was worried they'd be nervous because, like Andre said before, in COVID, you got to that part of COVID education where everybody just turned off their screen and sat there in their jammies and nobody was listening or paying attention, it felt like, at least. So this was kind of a response to that, to get them participating. But then they have ownership over what they present. So I pick 2 to 4 homework questions. I make it really simple for them to get the answer, able to get the solution correct. So they're generally odd numbered homework problems. If the presenter would like to get help from a tutor or help from me with how to do their presentation, it's perfectly fine with me. I feel like the learning for the presenter comes in the creation of the solution and going through the presentation itself, not just, can you solve this right now? It's not like a quiz. And so I post a couple of problems that I really carefully pick from their homework. And it's usually the homework, if it's say a Wednesday assignment, it's a homework that was discussed like the previous week or earlier in the week. So it's not brand new. And then the other group members review it for accuracy, notation, and good justification. So on, let's see, go to the next slide, Andre, please. Thank you. So here is, I'm sorry you guys can't read it very well. I was really trying to get a screenshot. But this is a screenshot of a group's discussion from actually last week in my Calculus 1 class. So it was funny what happened to me. Differential equations, I was using it just as a COVID. Can they do these problems? Can they explain these problems? I want interaction, but student-to-student interaction was just gone during COVID. That was breaking my heart, especially in that class. And so I had created this for COVID reasons in differential equations. So I used it all throughout COVID, this assignment, all throughout COVID. And then when we came back to the classroom fully, and I taught my first couple of differential equations classes in the classroom in, I think, 2022, I didn't do this anymore. And I had never polled the students, do you like this? Do you not, like Andre did? He's so brave. I don't ask, I just do it. And I had students ask me in my current classes, oh, how come you're not doing problems of the week? We've talked to your old students, your former students, and they really, really liked them. They felt like it was great practice for a test. So this year, I brought them back and I'm doing them in Calculus 1. And I was really nervous about doing them in Calculus 1 because a difference in sometimes grit or, yeah, I'll tackle that hard problem in a differential equation student is not the same as it is in a Calculus 1 student. So anyway, so this is from last week and a really great presentation and then 2 reviews. And Andre, could you go to the next slide, please? I have my rubric. Thank you. So I want my students who are reviewing the videos to critique them for I critique them, yes, for accuracy, but also look at it as the person presenting is your tutor and they are explaining to you this problem. Are they doing it in a way that makes sense to you? What I don't want to see, and I hope the reviewers mention, is somebody just reading this, here's my answer, because then you don't feel like, not only am I concerned that that student doesn't know how to do the problem, but from the reviewer's standpoint, the student reviewer's standpoint, they are evaluating, does that justification make sense? Or did they justify it at all? And one of the hard things for them is, how do you helpfully review a good presentation? Because frankly, most of the problems, by the time the students present and post their video, most of the problems are perfect. The steps are right. Not all of them, which is actually wonderful because then they fix them or they get feedback in the comments. But most of the students do a really good job presenting and practicing the problem, so their answers are right. So how do you create a really good review, a helpful review to the person that created the video? So if you look closely on the reviews that I've got here, you'll see timestamps. And then I've referenced it in my rubric at the bottom of each one. Please include timestamps on everything that you reference. That way, it's not just great video, loved it, I got the same answer. It's not that. It's, hey, you know what? Right here at minute 1 and 20 seconds in, I really thank you for posting what the product rule is, because I always forget the product rule. Or I wish you would have done at 3 minutes and 22 seconds, I wish you would have done the step where you combined like terms, or whatever it is that they loved that they were shown, or that they could use some more explanation on. Cool. And then go to the next one. I just have two cool, both of these students allowed me. This one, just the first 30 seconds, because I adore seeing the students work on this and getting started with. Go ahead and play it.
Okay, hello, we're on. Okay, so I am Darren and I am doing problem 73 for our POW group problem thing, and the question is find the derivative of x squared minus 7x over x plus 1 and find the derivative of that derivative, basically. And so starting off, let's just find what the derivative.
So I just wanted you guys to see him start that, and you can probably all hear the hesitation in his voice, and that could be just like camera shy, but I think generally I'm not totally sure how to do this problem, but let me go through the steps. And to me, that's the sweet spot. Like, that's the student that I really want to help get comfortable with these, so that I have fewer students when it comes to the test tell me, well, gosh, Mary Beth, I did all of the homework and I understood it and I understood every single thing you have ever said in class, but then I go to take the test and it just all goes out of my head. And so I've tried to really drive that home with the students, like, because they get to pick, right? I give them a selection of 2 to 4 problems and they can choose. They're real specific problems. It's not just find the derivative of x squared. So I pick ones that I really want them to think about, but they have the ownership to pick them. And I encourage them to pick something that's hard for them. Pick something that you don't know how to do, and then I reward them later by those questions every once in a while will appear on a quiz or a test. It's a homework question after all. So they get more confident because they've already gone through explaining it and going through that. Go ahead and play Peyton's. Peyton's is next. And I just, again, middle of her video, and it's like 30 seconds of what she's doing.
Prime of x, 2x plus 2. And then that's going to be all over x. And then I'm just, for the purposes of simplifying it, I'm just going to write this as x plus 1 to the 4th, because it's x plus 1 squared again. So technically you could just leave it like this. This is the second derivative, but the book, or the answer in the book, simplifies it, so I'm going to go ahead and do that.
Cool. So I love what Peyton did right there, because Peyton didn't show every single painstaking step for a Calculus 1 problem to do all the algebra, but she referenced a little bit of what she was going to do and then did simplify fully and kind of mentioned it. And it was funny how some of her group members liked that she did that, and some of her group members did not like that she skipped the x plus 1 squared to x plus 1 to the 4th or whatever it was. So anyway, it was interesting. It was really cool. And then my last slide, Andre,
Prime of
is kind of like, there you go, is kind of like things that I love and about the problem of the week. I love the students embrace the creating the video, and they really get into it. It makes me so excited. Like, you'll see that one in the middle there, the y equals sine of x squared. The video that for Cameron did that one. And the notation that he's using with the color coding is the same that I use in class. And it makes me so happy when they understand that I'm not just trying to be colorful, like the colors have a point, to follow the product rule along. So I love how much they embrace the creation of the video. And I do get some, I didn't actually have any good pictures of them, but I do get some where it's like the problem's all written out. It's less techy, and it's like a slow reveal of the solution. And that's just fine with me. I think Andre showed one that was really similar to that. I love the student-to-student feedback in these. I love the number one, the positive environment it creates in the class. Like, that you would be amazed. Well, maybe not, because they're just, students are mostly wonderful people, and how kind they are to each other, even when it's clear somebody doesn't know how to do the problem. they will find something good about that. And I appreciate that tremendously. And then when they do catch mistakes, like I posted a review over there on the left-hand side, like, oh, at minute 151, you made a small mistake and here it is. And that's great. Like that's part of learning, and how cool that that student pointed that out in a kind and helpful way. And how cool for the student that made the presentation that they're learning from that too. I really, really, really require specificity for full credit for things. Also, I pick my problems, like I said, really carefully. I don't want them to do just one problem, because then I wanted people not just to like one person has the answer and passes it to everybody else. So I want them to pick their own problem, but I don't want it to leave it so wide open that they just pick it, the easiest one they can possibly do, because it does have a point. So a lot of times these are things like I did the chain rule, for example, in class last week, and one of the questions for problem of the week, or actually all the questions for problem of the week, had evaluate the chain rule, but they didn't give the actual functions per se, like in explicit form. They just drew pictures of the functions, they graphed the lines for the functions, and the students had to figure out what's the, for f of g of x, what's the derivative of that at x equals 4. And then, so it's the same thing that we did in class, but we didn't do it with a graph where they had to figure out the function value in the line. We haven't done that in a couple of weeks. So really specific types of questions. And then, to be really honest, the grading for this, for me, just from a selfish standpoint, is so fast. It really is, because I'm only grading in a 35-person class. I'll have 9 groups, and so I'm grading 1 presentation per group. So I'm only grading 9 videos. And then I'm grading reviews that pertain to the video that I just watched. So it's much faster. The downside is the students obviously only get to do 4, 5 presentations a semester. So they're not doing as many as they do in Andre or Pitt's classes. So anyway, let's see, is there anything else? I have my notes, sorry, hold on. I guess technology. We don't have GoReact at Sierra College. I just use Studio. Most of my students use Studio to create their videos. It's really easy to do right in a discussion. A few of them create them with their phones and then post it to YouTube or share it as an MP4. And that I have actually, shockingly, knock on wood, I have had 0 technology problems where it's like prevented a student from posting a video. And I make a huge deal, obviously, in the beginning of the class, like, hey, if this is a problem for you, let me know, talk to me, we can get you hooked up with, webcam or DocCam or something. So just let me know. And I haven't had anybody have a problem with it, which I find shocking because I've been doing it for 3-4 years now. So, okay, that was it. Thank you. Go ahead, Pitt.
Thank you, Mary Beth. So Pitt Turner, Sierra College. The experience I had started when Andre actually came to Sierra and presented his ideas of what was happening, and that got me thinking what I had been trying to figure out. He kind of had the solution, which is in-class engagement is there. It's out-of-class engagement that was damaged by, say, the pandemic or whatever's happening, and I was trying to capture that, trying to get more outside of the class engagement. So on a typical class, you would be caught in that little lecture, maybe worksheet cycles in class, and then there's homework outside. Using this idea of video feedback got tied in my experience, with a way to check in with the students outside of class on how did you feel and can you do it. So I kind of have 2 different measures on this Teach Me video. As you can see on the slides here, the cyclic thing between lectures and workshops are all in class. Develop a topic. Let's get you, caught up to what's expected. Send them on off, and then you wouldn't see them until next Monday. So I brought in this end of the week check. Said, hey, how are you doing on the topics we just covered? I would allow them to submit a video, require them to submit a video, and they would say, hey, I felt this week went by well, or it didn't go too well. I'm not quite understanding this. Maybe they'd hold up their worksheet, point out the problem, And that would allow me to have one last conversation with the student before we sent them into the weekend to do their homework. And that conversation would be either me shifting over to my whiteboard and submitting a video of me working through a type of problem or explaining a concept a little bit more to them, or it'd be me just talking to them saying, yeah, I think you're doing good. I want you to pay attention. Your homework's a little late. I would just be able to get some kind of interaction. And to me, that was great because I was able to kind of humanize the course outside of the class and let them know that I'm watching them. I'm there for them, helping them, instead of me just being an in-class kind of figure. So that was my end of the week check-in. And then by the beginning of the next week, we would capstone the past week's content with a Teach Me video, where a student would come in and say, of the problems you gave me, I'm going to show you how to do this type of problem. And that's where it matches really with what Andre and Mary Beth were doing, where they present a problem. They're trying to teach it to you. They're trying to use the right vernacular, the right notation, being rigorous. And it came out really good because it hinted at a couple things. First off, they knew I was there. They knew me. I knew them face to face by name. We've had conversations. And then in the Teach Me videos, you got a little more insight to the student's understanding when they're skipping big steps or using the wrong vocabulary, or their voice is a little wavy, because you get a better sense than them submitting a piece of paper that is correct, right? Now I get to see into them. Andre, next slide, please. So here's a breakdown of it. The did I get this? End of the week check-in, asking students if it all made sense, and it allowed this kind of interaction. They would submit to me either a paper or a handout and point out a problem or explain it to me. Somehow they were able to ask me a question, and I did ask for video feedback. And then I would be able to come back with a video that explained their question, but I would always follow up with, hey, now that I've explained it, your turn. I would give them a question that was similar. Say, submit this, and then we'll call this a wrap. They would have to then follow up to that and submit a video of them working through the problem that they originally had a question on, that I helped them try and understand, that they can now show me, okay, I got it. And that interaction typically lasted, 3 little bits, them, me, them. Sometimes I would follow up again and say, not quite right. And that would give a conversation that was great. It was a learning moment for them, like a one-on-one moment with the teacher. So there's your end of the week check-in, right? How you doing? Is it going good? Can I help you out? And did the help you? Show me that it worked. Let's go ahead and click to that next slide. Coming back out of the weekend, I'm assuming all their homework is all 100% done by now. Then they've mastered the content, or that's what we hope. So I now ask, hey, that last week's content, that's where we were. I'd like to know if you've got this down. Here are some challenging problems. Problems that come from numerous assortment of books that I have off to the side about problem solving, and they're not direct problems like you see in the homework. Some of them are maybe a lot of variables in there, or a little abstract, or asking for a way to find a missing value of a missing value. There's always complexity to it. And this, again, kind of capstone, did they understand what was being taught last week, and can they apply it to a new type of problem? I never had any restrictions on them working with tutors or peers or asking me questions about it. It's open. You do whatever you need to do to learn it, but when you present it, confidence in your voice, correctness in your notation, and you should be able to walk through it confidently because, again, you've practiced it, and there you go. So the 2 questions you see there from a calculus class, notice I do give them the answer, just to remove a little bit of stress. They know what they're supposed to get, but getting there is what they're supposed to present. So they have a little check at the end to make sure that they're kind of on the right path. As Mary Beth mentioned, we use Canvas Studios for our video recorder and video cloud, I guess. It is pretty straightforward as it's embedded in the text box for Canvas essay submissions, and they just open it with a couple clicks. They can screen record or video record, and they can also upload things that they maybe record on their phone. So a student has a couple ways to do it. I've never had any tech issues other than a couple. I submitted it, but it didn't quite load. And that was just maybe slow internet connection, having an issue trying to load it up. Let's go ahead and click next slide, please. So of all of these, the most wonderful thing is the variety of types of submissions. We've got the screen share, the hold up the whiteboard. Maybe they have a whiteboard in their room. Maybe there's tech that they're lifting up, or they're holding their camera above their paper, trying to write it out. And I tell them creativity of the way you capture it is a part of the fun here. And you see that last one that popped in is the Council of Psyducks. This person put together every video a different council of these Pokemons to introduce the video and talk through it. They're just having a good time, but it also eased that anxiety. It humanized the interaction between us being a math instructor and a student and made it a learning moment. And that's what I really got as a benefit for these Teach Me videos. Students say the same thing, that it was very beneficial for them to just be able to talk through it. I do make a little difference here between like Mary Beth's group work. I tell the students this video is between you and me, right? You can give the video, you can talk about it, you can share thoughts and concerns, and the instructor is the only one that's going to be listening, so this is very much a private conversation. That opens up the doors for a lot of side conversations that have happened and that we can kind of talk through. So I don't have a video to share, but I think their videos that they showed earlier on really show that students, the voice is important to hear, the way that they're presenting it is really fun to see, and then the video feedback that the instructor gives is really beneficial for the student to know that their efforts were seen, were validated, that anything they do is, yeah, that was really good, but I saw that thing that happened, let me go over this real quick, and then it becomes a fun learning moment. Let's shift to that last slide, please, Andre. Rubric here hints at a little bit of ease of grading. It's all virtual, so there's not handwriting the same statement 15 times in a row. You just want that rubber stamp, pow, 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 say it equals 0. This is click, click, click in a rubric, adds it up, tallies it. The time is really in watching the video, double speed, right? Or clicking through, because you kind of get the feel of what's going on and you know where errors could be made, and that comes with the practice of doing it, becomes quicker. And then the time for the video feedback for the instructor. In the Canvas, it really is a click, click, records me, submit, 5 seconds later, it's uploaded. So we have a really kind of streamlined process. But the rubric, what am I looking for? They have to introduce themselves and the work has to be written out, can't be pre-written. I'm very much with Andre. If you show me something that's written, it is super boring and I'm going to snore and ask you to do it again. So that's asked. And then we have the main things. Do you conceptually understand it? Is your computation pulled off? And is your communication there? Notation, clarification, and correctness. And those parts are described a little more in details for the students. I've just taken the top little copy of the rubric. And then from there, students get, again, video feedback from the instructor, a nice rubric breakdown, a grade, and more importantly, the ability to continue a conversation to ask more deep questions. I think this has been a real good turnaround for my class. On ground, by the way. This isn't an online class. It's all on ground, and I am then requiring them outside of class to maintain engagement, to continue to have conversations. And that was the missing part of these on-ground classes with this new generation coming in that I couldn't figure out how to kickstart. And I believe this really helped me out. It really continued conversations out. And again, I can't stress this enough, but a student's connection to the community of their class breaks apart as soon as they leave the class, unless we create something that continues that communication outside. And I believe I have something that works really well for my students, and they kind of say the same thing. So with that, let's hit the final notes. Andre.
But why should we do these in the first place? And I think Mary Beth Pitt and I have kind of hit that in the first place. I mean, these Teach Me videos do something extra. And I am asking my students very challenging questions in my Calc 2 class, and they exceed my expectations every single week. And these are videos that are just astounding me, right? With the way they teach them, they're better than the way I teach them in most cases. They take it on as a pride of joy as they go through and teach this to me, and they desire that feedback that I give them when I get really excited about their answers and the way they did them. I appreciate those things. So why should we do them in the first place? Well, So I got increased, my retention increased dramatically, my success rates increased dramatically, my rigor increased dramatically because I could get them to teach it to me, even though I was asking them many of the questions I asked previously in an in-person lecture only style class. Now I'm getting them to teach it to me. So, and it is fun. So the students' enjoyment, they love it. Just 2 weeks ago, I had one student in my Calc 2 class just shout out in the middle of group discussions, "I'm going to be a math major now." And he was serious. He is a math major now. And I'm working with this kid to have some more fun with him. So student participation and student enjoyment is through the roof with these things for me. It increases the group participation. It was one of the main reasons that I started the Teach Me videos, was I saw it as a way for the groups to kind of get that motivation factor. Get in your groups and get working, because you got to teach this hard problem to Professor Dre by the end of the day. And they do work hard in those groups. And whereas before, if I just gave them a worksheet and told them to work on it, they'd be like, man, I don't really want to work with this person. So now it's different. It increases my enjoyment drastically. So I really do enjoy these videos. Seeing my students work on these challenging problems is something I look forward to. It humanizes that assessment. So this assessment of Teach Me videos, right? It really does create that persona of you're getting to know every single one of your students. It is equitable in that way, that you know how this student will succeed in the next course, because you're seeing them on a week-to-week basis, or even if you're doing it like Mary Beth and Pitt are, right, every other week, or four videos per semester, right? It is just that benefit that you get to see how they're doing, right, in the course in a better and deeper way. So decreases my equity gap. It has, so I still got work to do, but nonetheless we all do. So, but it has decreased quite a bit because of I am getting to know every single student. So here are some of the problems that I ask my students to do. In my Calculus 1 course, you can see the level of rigor is high, and they are teaching me these problems. They have to know it on a deeper level to be able to teach it. So there's a lot of good stuff, but with good stuff, for me, comes some bad stuff, and I'm listening to Pitt and Mary Beth, and I'm getting a little bit jealous, and I think I need to switch to studio here. So my students need some tech help, particularly in the beginning. I would say in my Calculus 1 and my Calc 2 class, my Calc 2 class hasn't been an issue really. Just the first week here and there, I'd be like, I couldn't really see that. Could you use something else? And other than that, but my statistics courses are a whole nother story. Getting them on board and doing what we're doing, I'm still struggling. And we're in week 7 now for a couple students, and trying to get them to figure out how to teach it to me. So I am thinking next semester to try and use Studio for my stat students at least, and see how it goes. So students' videos are sometimes not great quality, and you have to work with that to try and figure out if they know what they do, if they know what they know. And the digital divide is something to be concerned about. So where you have to kind of say, okay, well, you don't have this digital, or you don't know how to use this tech. I have to try and help you understand that stuff. So as we go. Though it takes more time to grade, a rhythm can be found. I don't know. I'm exploring this concept about grading in my Teach Me videos. I mean, you hear what Mary Beth and Pitt do to kind of alleviate some of the grading. In an asynchronous course, so in Calc 1 last semester, I had 2 asynchronous courses, and I was spending 10 hours a week on these 2 asynchronous courses, grading and launching material, because I had my material built out. My classes are flipped classes. So they go through the material, they do some maybe MyOpenMath problems, and then they come into the worksheet, they work in groups, and then they jump in and give me a Teach Me video. In my in-person class, that takes a bit more time, because I'm in person with them, helping them with their group work, maybe going over some extra stuff, and then grading their Teach Me videos. So I would say it is more if I'm in person, but if it is asynchronous, it really isn't more, and I still get that interaction with my students. To set up the DIGTs, TMVs, assignments in Canvas, it's a bit of work. It does take work, right? But that's where hopefully you got a good community of colleagues that can help you out, that can support you, right? And I'll go over something in a second. Yeah, this is where it is. So, this is some of my students' work in the past. I got June here was super scared of the Teach Me videos in the beginning. She said she made the introduction video, which was just her introducing herself 20 times. By the end of the semester, she was laughing and having blast and then doing it in one turn. They do really turn around. So just as a kind of thing, this is just an interesting thing one of my students said: taking this class with you made me absolutely love math. The once terrified college freshman who was insecure about their mathematics skills is now confident about taking higher level math courses and doing that well in them. Thanks to you and your teaching style, the Teach Me videos in particular were extremely helpful, as you would have to know very well what you're talking about, why the correct answer is correct, and the process of solving it before you teach how you do it. I really enjoyed this class and had lots of fun learning math. So, and the last thing I can bring up is that my Calc 1 course is on Canvas Commons, as well as my statistics course with GoReact in there. You kind of have to have GoReact to use it, but as Pitt and Mary Beth said, maybe you can just use Studio. And Calc 2 will be up soon by the end of the semester, I think. So, all right, everybody. Thank you. Sharing, I guess I'll stop sharing now, or I'll just leave that up. Any questions that we have on this?
I think that we have answered the questions as we went. I wanted to, if I could, make a few observations and hear more from you on some of, we are headed now into teaching calculus in a new era where a lot more students are going to have access to it. And I think there is a lot of angst in the field and amongst our colleagues about this. But some of the things that I'm hearing here give me real hope and make me feel excited. So I wanted to highlight a few of those and then have you maybe reflect on hearing your thoughts. One is that when I'm listening to faculty and their debates about where we're headed in calculus instruction, there almost seems to me to be this false debate or dichotomy between maintaining rigor and making a class more equitable. And what I hear here is this beautiful, there is no question that the problems you're having students work on are high level questions, right? Nobody would say that's just low level drill and kill kind of stuff. So the rigor is clearly there. But I think the other thing I'm hearing when I think about what I've read in terms of equitable math instruction, I'm seeing things like student voice, that students, you get a sense of their personality, they are being seen, they're being heard, their voice is part of the classroom. And there is a sense of pride, ownership, and engagement. These are sort of the pinnacle, I think, of what equitable instruction looks like, is when every student has that opportunity and is engaging in assignments that are helping them feel that they belong, find their voice in the classroom, enjoy themselves, right? So what I wanted to hear is thoughts on, as you're moving forward with teaching calculus in the next couple of years, are you going to continue this? Are there any tweaks that you're going to make? And do you just have any thoughts in general on taking a strategy like this into a calculus classroom that has a broadened access component to it?
I am definitely going to continue it. So I have been continuing it since that fall of 2021. So I kept doing it in calculus, and then I brought it into statistics, a weekly Teach Me video. And statistics, every single week I have to grade those too. And I do really enjoy them. My students and statistics is another little battle with them in the sense that, to get them to do the video and to get them going through the material in a timely manner, to be able to hit that level of rigor that's there. As you said, it is a rigorous thing to be able to teach a Teach Me video problem for statistics or STEM field class. what I love about the STEM field classes, oh man, the students really love those videos, and they love making them up. And it doesn't matter how hard I make them, they seem to dig in a little bit more. It's like, I had a student ask me, it was like, there was a problem I put on one of my, it was a trig sub problem, and it was too much. It took me 45 minutes to do when I made up my video solutions for this thing. And so I'm like, I'm not assigning this problem to you. I'm not going to give you this video. And I had a student come up to, can I do it anyways? And I'm like, okay, all right, that's fine. We'll do that. We'll do that because that's just fun. That student wants to show that they can do this really challenging trig sub problem. So it's stuff like that that really just brings enjoyment to this. But it's a relationship with every single student, and I don't know how that can't be equitable. And it is rigorous because the problems I am asking them to do is on a higher level than I would have asked otherwise, and then they're teaching it to me. So yeah, I don't get that question of equity and rigor. I did get it before because I wasn't sure how to approach that. Everything I heard was do group work. I was like, I don't know how to do group work. I don't know how to motivate my students to do group work. But this does that, right? This takes it, and they want to make sure they succeed. And particularly for Calc 1, Calc 2, it really does work. And I look forward to hearing other people's viewpoints on this later.
Thanks. I wanted to just say something else before I pass it off to Pitt and Mary Beth, is that there is something about producing a product that makes the group work more motivated, right? More engaging, more, you want to sort of see, you're going to have to produce this thing. It's going to be visible to other people, as opposed to group work where you're just sort of filling out a worksheet. And I've done years of that, right? That there's no sort of final product that you can have that sense of pride and ownership of. But anyway, Mary Beth or Pitt, do you want to sort of?
Yeah, I'll hop in and answer that. First of all, to the question in the chat, about needing, are there any students who need accommodations or special support needs for making the videos? I haven't had anybody disclose that to me yet. And it was the number one reason that kind of held me back from doing it once we got back into the classroom after COVID for a year or two. I was worried about that tech divide, and it has not been an issue, but I make a big deal about it in class. Like, if you have a need for technology, whatever it is, please come and talk to me and we can figure out what we need to do to get you the resources to create the videos. But it hasn't been an issue for me just yet. I'm sure it's coming, but it has not been yet. Am I going to continue this? I'm going to expand it. I love it. It is, like Andre said, it's fun for me, and I think it's fun for them too. I really like my group peer-to-peer interaction. I feel, I could be wrong because I haven't tested it. I haven't done what Pitt and Andre do and just have them give me only their videos. I feel like they put more effort into helping each other, knowing that they're responsible that week for posting a video that their friends are going to see, their classmates are going to see. I feel like they put almost more effort into that and into explaining that than they would if it were just between the two of us. Because it's like grading something on a paper, maybe a test or an assignment. They assume that I know what they're talking about, so they're not going to worry about justifying everything. And then it's really hard for me to figure out, do they get it or do they not? But if they're producing something for their friends in the class, that's totally different. Now they have a different responsibility to make sure that even if they do understand it perfectly and can skip 5 steps, their friends might not want that to happen. So the quality of the video they are producing as far as explaining, not technology, but explaining, is really, really good. Another thing that I wanted to say about in Math 30, that's Calculus 1 at Sierra College, it's always the class where the students come in and almost nobody knows anybody else. And there are no study groups. They don't have a habit of, we always go to the math center and we study our physics or whatever it is, which is different than a Calculus 3 or a differential equations class where you walk in on day one at Sierra College to a differential equations class, math 33, and everybody knows everybody. The only person that they might not know is you, and they probably know you from seeing you in the hallway. So my job teaching the lower level calculus or other classes is to get those students forming those groups and as organically as possible. And I've seen that in this process. I taught this last semester, Calculus 1, without these videos, and the difference is huge. They're talking to each other in the discussions. Now they're talking, because it's also like Pitt and Andre have said, mine is also an in-person class. It's not I don't teach the online calculus yet. So they see each other in class. Some of them even say, oh, I love that you asked, by the way, I love that you asked these questions in class. It's really helpful to me. Like that was even in a review from last week. So I'm starting to see the beginning of those study groups, those organically formed study groups in Calculus 1 forming already, and hopefully they carry that into their later classes. And just talk about an equitable lift, getting students to work together in any way it's probably the number one best thing that we can do to help get them through classes. And then finally, the train of thought has left me. I had another one down. I don't know what I said, but I know what I was going to say. This assignment is wild to me because I give not very many take-home style assignments in my calculus classes. A lot of it is quiz. It's like formative assessment in the room. So they're practicing that for their later classes. I have a couple of like test correction assignment that they can take home and they can work with a tutor or they can work at home. This is a take-home style assignment. They can do it at their own, on their own schedule. It is the assignment that everybody turns in. It's wild to me. I have like one person in a class of 35 that is consistently not doing them because he thinks he's too cool for school. And so everybody else is doing these every single week. It is amazing to me. There's no other assignment that I do that they participate in at this level. And I am, again, convinced that they're doing it to help each other out. They feel a responsibility to one another. And I don't know if I would have that as much. I'm not as cool as Dr. Dre. So I don't know if I would get that same amount of interaction if they, and buy-in if I had it just to me. So it's wild to me that it's always been like that though. Everybody does them. It's really crazy. So yeah, I'm gonna do them and I'm gonna expand them. And I love, it's part getting voices speaking in the classroom that have not spoken. And that's huge. They ask questions. I just love it. Sorry, I talk a lot. Go ahead, Pitt.
I was just gonna say, that's so beautiful too, that there is just no shame here. Like a lot of times if you interview students, which I've done a lot of over the years and sort of trying to do classroom research, interviewing other people's students, there is a level of shame and embarrassment around asking a question. That they really feel like, I don't ask questions because I'm embarrassed or I think I should know that and I don't. And that is just going to kill you academically, right? If you're not willing to sort of say, I don't get something and I need to ask a question about it. That's one thing I think that's so beautiful here is that there is just there's just no, oops, I made a mistake, I'll correct it, right? There's no like, got to remake the video or, hit off, it's just that it's part of the process. That's really
That's a great point, Byron. Pitt and Andre and I were talking earlier this week, or maybe, I don't remember, the days they're blending together. But we were talking before about this, and all of us, one of our favorite moments in a video is when a student is doing a problem and then catches a mistake and still just submits what they did. I mean, they fix it. They don't get me wrong. They don't like make the mistake and we're yay, but they go through the problem, they catch a mistake, and then they just go, oh, that was wrong. They go back, they fix it, and then they continue and they still submit that video. For my class, it's wonderful because then the other students in the group see that and they see the process of learning is not the product. It's totally different things. It's not the final answer. It's not everybody gets that at that first time. So it's been the sense of community and the positive atmosphere between the students, and then of course with me, as much as I can encourage that, has been tremendous in the classes that I've been using it in. So Pitt, I talk
I'll
again.
kind of, yeah, chime in here. I have had a student who needed help accommodations for the tech need, and what we ended up doing is just walking over with them at the end of class, and I sat in one of our study rooms, our math center, and they presented it on the board in front of me. And so they didn't need to submit a video, just made time for them to present it to me at the end of class or in a private room somewhere, and I graded it as there, gave feedback there. So it doesn't have to be tech, but yes, I will continue to use this. I'll continue to tinker on it too, because I've changed formats a couple times just to try and have fewer, have more of them. I don't know if I want to overburden them with too many of these videos. I think what I did last semester with a did I get this video followed by a teach me video might have been too much, because that's 2 videos a week, and it wasn't. I had the largest retention of a class I'd had in a long time, and I can't help but say it was because they felt a belonging. And if that belonging is encouraged, and they can not only just take ownership in what they're doing, but know that what they're doing is looked at by the faculty. The faculty knows their name, that we're having conversations directly with them, no matter if they're a boisterous or quiet kid in the classroom, that's beneficial. And I've had more deep conversations with the quiet ones because they're saving it for the time they can sit down and discuss. So I think I will continue to do this. I believe one of the focuses I've had versus creating a sense of internal community like Mary Beth has done with her student to student, I've tried to focus on a entry-level college algebra class where these students are coming without a connection to the entire college, without a connection to any of the students, without an understanding that faculty are friendly, and without confidence in that they're doing the right thing. And these individual conversations have allowed me to connect with the student, to talk with them about a lot of things outside of class, just really taking my office hours to the students. And that's totally outside of me asking them a math question and having them present it to me or teach me. It's just the side questions and comments or the side nuances that the student hints at that I can follow up on. Hey, I noticed you were kind of rushing it, you have a lot going on. Like, I get to ask questions and notice things, and if that doesn't humanize a math course, a rigorous math symbolic logic course, then I don't know what else can. I believe that it's more beneficial to get the students comfortable in the class, and I think these videos really do that for me. And then on top of that, I do get to up the rigor. I do get to challenge them more. I do get to have these fun problem-solving questions that I even geek out on and get to see them kind of make connections or help them along the way. So I do really find a benefit in it. And in the modern day of tech where we are now, on ground, online, we're teaching them to interact in a virtual world. And that should be another goal of ours as well. Not just pen and paper, but in a career-oriented training. You're going to do this, you're going to present, you're going to talk to people virtually. And this is one good kind of component we can kind of check off to say not only are they getting the math, but we're also exposing them to a wider world of just utilizing technology for communication.
Pitt, I was going to say, in the way that you've set things up too, it struck me that I do a lot of thinking when I'm teaching about the sort of habits of mind that STEM majors and STEM professionals have, and whether or not I'm setting up opportunities for students to build those kinds of habits and ways of thinking. And I think one of the things you're doing is just every week we're going to check in on what did you get, what did you not get, and that really normalizes that sort of not only meta look at what am I getting, but it normalizes asking questions and not getting things, right? So I think that that's a really beautiful thing too. If every week I'm expected to pause, think about what I get, what I don't get, and talk about it openly, is as a beautiful norming of a habit of mind that a STEM survivor is going to need to have, right? So I think that's a really beautiful design also. I'm looking to see if there are any other questions that have come in, and I don't see any. We still have a few minutes left. Anybody want to make any closing comments?
I just want to say this, just to kind of reiterate what Pitt's talking about too, is I've been doing this for a really long time now with all my students, even in stats too, and I've come into Teach Me videos where I'm like, that student is off today, something is wrong, and I've approached them about it, and right, things have come out of that, right, a connection deeper, right, than a teaching connection, right, me getting them support through other means, right, and other things that I can help them with. So and that's just another thing this creates, right, is just they trust you a lot more, and they're more vulnerable with you, and you can help them out of situations that you maybe have no clue that's going on and wouldn't know if it was happening otherwise, right? If you were just lecturing to them in class. And the group work is still, right, still amazing to me, what they do with that, reaching out to those students and collaborating with each other. And even my stats class, the group work in there, right, is really cool too. They're all working together this semester. All my EOPS in-person class, stats class, they leave together. All of them, I only got 10, but all 10 of them leave the room together and go study together because they need the help, and they're helping each other, and that's awesome. So
I'll just add, and I don't want to speak for the others, but the slides will be shared, and at the beginning is contact information for us. If you want a little deeper dive or more questions to be answered, or an exploration of how we've set up the Canvas course, then I encourage you all to please reach out.
Yeah, and if you want to grab my courses too, you're welcome to, and try and use them, right? And if you got any problems, reach out to me.
All right.
Yes.
Well,
the only thing I'll say one quick thing, Myra, just to all my faculty friends in here, Pitt and Andre included. I feel like as my career has evolved over the great length that I've been at Sierra College, I'm always willing to try something new. I'm always game to tweak and try and take a chance. But I am always so cognizant of, I want it to make a difference in my students' lives. I want it to, in their mathematical lives, of course, but also like, is this helping? Is this helping, or am I just trying to be creative? And that's not always helpful. I love this. This is one of those things that I tried and I took a risk, and I'm so glad I did. So if anybody wants to chat with me about it at all, or Pitt and Andre too, I highly recommend it. I'm very picky about the things that I actually bring into the classroom, because I want them to be worthwhile. I don't want to waste students' time with here's a discussion post, read it, reply, and then reply to 2 of your and then it's just box checking. I hate busy work. I hate requiring busy work for them. And this is cool. I feel like they're learning a lot. I feel like they're gaining a lot. And so anyway, just wanted to say that.
Boy, +1 on that. Yes. All right. So on Monday, I will post the slides and the presentation recording on accelerationproject.org under events. And then you've had, I want to thank our presenters today for the generosity and sharing so openly what you're doing in your classrooms and what you have learned over using this technique, and the amazing offer to have folks connect with you. And I hope that people will take advantage of that offer. So with that, we will sign off, and I hope everyone has a great weekend. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye, Keely.